Okay, we're gonna get into game 2. Hopefully Jin Air change a lot about their draft in order to give themselves options, especially if they are to opt into anything like Skarner again, to not leave Tahm Kench on the table, or at least provide themselves with lanes that can help Skarner actually get the opportunities that he needs. They go ahead with a first ban Karma. That strikes me as a little odd. I guess they find it particularly annoying last game, as it is pretty good into most mid matchups, as it has a very strong push. They're also banning the Swain, which is odd on blue side. Usually the red side wants to ban that, since that's one of your S plus tier picks. So very good for first pick on blue side, but they decide to take it away themselves. They are not planning on playing Swain. ROX Tigers go and then they take Gangplank out. S or A tier. I don't know what I said about him earlier, but he's pretty A. They go ahead and they take the Jin out too. This opens up a lot of lanes for them, so that since Jin is pretty good into everything except Ezreal, or anything that can pick on him early, as any lane that can play super aggressive but also play super safe. Since Jin is immobile, he can be picked on, but not. He also is able to pick on many people since his damage output is extremely high. Jin decided to ban the Varus pre Ginsu change, so definitely still S tier. Just waiting on the last ban from ROX. I would be surprised if it was anything that Jin actually played last game rather than something standard. Since Jin didn't really show proficiency on anything, like it would. They ban Ola. They're baiting the Skarner pick here. This is ROX is asking Jin to play Skarner. If they go ahead and they ban Olaf here, then they're asking for Jin to play Skarner, and they go ahead and they pick Tahm Kench. Instead, Jin goes ahead and they decide they probably want to run the Chaya. They don't want to take the bait, as this Olaf ban says a lot. ROX has two options. They can go ahead and they can respond to Skarner themselves, go Tahm Kench, which is something that they're hovering. They may do that. Skarner Tahm Kench is going to be their strongest, takes away the options. The Karma's off the table. There's plenty of options in lanes that they can still run in order to make sure Skarner is able to gank lanes and have pressure. Tahm Kench is also really good here, because when you're running in a Chaya Rakan, if you run something like Tahm Kench Ezreal, they'll never die. They'll be able to farm safely, and they can just ignore the bottom lane. Instead, ROX opt into Azir, which does deny the Rakan. Rakan's engage is a dash, so it is denied by the Azir ultimate. However, it is still leaving a lot open. However, I think what ROX thinks is, okay, they pick Chaya, they're gonna go Chaya Rakan. They do not know, or it is very rare for someone who picking Chaya to go ahead and run that Tahm Kench. So they say, okay, we can run Tahm Kench third pick. We can pick something higher priority here. So they go ahead and they pick the Azir, S tier. Definitely high priority, very smart. Jin decide to respond, taking the Rakan that they necessarily need, and they go ahead and they run with Sejuani, which is a very good response into Skarner, as the Sej R is going to be really good at stopping Skarner in his path, which is why a lot of Skarners end up choosing to go with a Quicksilver Sash much earlier in the game than normal. And there's the Tahm Kench that we talked about. Jin to be smart here, they would either ban top lane S tier, like Cho'Gath or Ornn, or they would go ahead and they'd ban ADCs that they can't pick on, like Ezreal, possibly Tristana. ROX don't really need to do a whole lot. They say, okay, we'll just ban S tier picks that we don't want to deal with. We'll ban the Camille. Looks like Jin is going to go ahead and start prioritizing these ADC picks. So they go with Caitlyn. Caitlyn has a really strong lane, and with the Tahm Kench, she can actually go ahead and pick on Rakan for a little bit. ROX go ahead and they ban the Ornn. What this tells me is that ROX is probably going to pick Cho'Gath. Just because there's not going to be anything that contests that Cho'Gath other than Gnar. Either that or they'll pick the Gnar themselves. And they'll probably pick it. Or well, they're banning Ornn because it's really good to have all that engage. I mean, it's really good for them to have triple engage comp with a hyper carry, and they'd want to run a second hyper carry in the mid. So they go ahead and they take Ornn away so that they don't have that engage coming from the top lane. Rather that the only engage that Jin Air can pick up right now is follow-up engage, not primary engage. ROX hovering Kai'Sa, but decide to go with the Scion top lane. Fairly safe pick. Going to have the push. Strong in a lot of lanes. Going to be something that they can probably give early pressure with the Skarner and then just ignore. What's odd to me about this ROX comp is that they decided to pick the Scion here, whereas there's a lot of top lane picks open, and they can go ahead and then pick their ADC, which they already know the lane that they're playing into, rather than save their ADC for last pick. But what's interesting is that they saved their ADC for last pick. Jainer decided to go for Galio, and Ezreal's still on the table. So ROX actually might get the better end of the deal here if they go ahead and they pick Ezreal, and then Galio will have no win condition on anyone. The Gnar that's standard is going to be picked into the Scion, which may or may not have been picked anyway, regardless of whatever ROX picked, just because it fits into every lane. The Galio is also like interesting here because it's possible that ROX wanted that priority in mid lane, and ROX is gonna have that priority in the mid lane up to level 9 until Galio can push. ROX decided to go with Kalista. Okay, this is a problem. Kalista Tahm Kench, not bad. Kalista in general, pretty bad. Kalista is good into short-range ADCs. She can be played into Sivir, she can be played into Tristana, but after her range nerfs, she doesn't really have a lot of winning lanes. And she's a champion that relies on like early mid-game pressure, and since she doesn't win early game anymore, she's just non-existent from the meta. So it's really interesting that they go ahead and they pick Kalista here, which is one of the general counters to Galio, but not something that's going to provide them with a lot of help. So that may actually have given Jin the better end of the deal here in draft. Let's go ahead and talk about it more in detail. So Galio will be pushed in until level 9. And then he will push after level 9. Just because he'll after level 9 he'll have items and maxed out Q, so he'll just be able to ignore Azir. But before then, Azir is going to have a lot of pressure, and therefore have a lot of pressure in the mid lane 2v2. Gnar is going to win this lane all game, except in the very early levels 1 through 4. All the way to level 9 can be difficult for Gnar, just because if Sion goes Arcane Comet, then he is going to have some dueling power in the early. But Gnar will eventually swing this and start pushing the lane. And then eventually he will be a split push threat in the favor of Jin Air. As for the jungle, this is a standard soft counter. The only thing to say about the jungle here is that Skarner's jungle clear is a little bit faster, therefore Skarner's going to have the jump on any kind of lanes, which he may want to do in the top or the bottom lane, but Skarner isn't going to really do a whole lot in the early game anyway. He's just going to farm until 6. So Skarner may be able to counter jungle Sejuani and get kind of ahead, especially relying on this Azir. But it's something that they need to communicate really well, or else it's going to go bad very quickly, especially if Rakan's able to roam or something like that. Remember, this is 8.5, so this is pre-Rakan buffs, but it's still doable. And as for in this bottom lane, Kalista and Tahm Kench will never die, but they'll never do anything effective. Like Kalista, don't get me wrong, really good into Rakan because she can just jump out of Rakan's W, but she isn't going to have the damage nor the ability to kill Rakan, since Rakan has 1100 range on his E, and I think he has 600 or 700 on his W, which means it's going to be impossible for these guys to do anything aggressive. So Jin are really getting the better end of the draft here. They have a real split push threat. The only thing that they need to worry about is possibly late game running around the Azir. But if they play it right, they shouldn't even make it to late game. I see this as like a 28 to 32 minute game in the favor of Jin. And I haven't watched any of these games, but they seem pretty readable, since Korea generally plays towards what they're supposed to be doing. Another standard 5-point early, pretty expected because there's really no level 1 pressure from either of these teams, and there's not a lot of incentive to get early vision except for maybe Jin. It'd be nice to see where Skarner is and get some vision early to make sure that he doesn't get any really early cheesy ganks off, such as warding his wraiths would be pretty effective. Or even just knowing which buff he's starting at is also pretty effective. This is interesting because Skarner, they're actually doing a fake leash on, or no, they don't. What the fuck? So when Skarner starts bottom side without the help from the bottom lane, what it says to me is that Sion should probably wait a minute to go into lane, and it could say, okay, Skarner started top side. Instead, Skarner normally starts blue, so Jin may be able to assume that Skarner's going to start blue anyway, even without the help of the bottom lane. But I really think Sion could have faked that Skarner started top, which could have gave a lot of pressure for ROX in the early, and possibly gave ROX an avenue into the mid lane or the bottom lane early to try and swing one of these lanes further in their favor. So ROX gonna take the push early in the bottom lane, the push early in the mid lane, which I guess says something about what they're doing. When they take push in 2 lanes, generally you call that your strong side of the map, and that means that their jungler is going to play on that side of the map, try and get aggressive vision, and try and take avenues into lanes that may make a misstep. Instead, they take their strong side, and Skarner starts bottom side, and he's just gonna go top side and try and swing this lane further into the Sion's favor, since Sion is going to control this lane for the early levels, but only really the early levels. After a period of time, Sion will fall off, but he can extend that window. He can extend it to pass level 9 if the Sion gets ahead. And that could be a good investment. Not letting Gnar split push until later and later and later in the game is definitely a good investment for them, as they want to stall so that they can let the Azir carry. So Skarner opting for a full clear. He just wants to hit 6 really fast. And he is spotted. Sejuani already on top side. This is let me just scroll a few seconds. There's a ward here as Sejuani goes to contest this topside scuttle crab. And what this means is that it's possible Sejuani got seen here. No, I believe she did not. If Sejuani got seen here, it would tell ROX, okay, Sejuani's on top side. Sejuani has yet to take her golems, which means that Skarner will be one camp ahead, and Skarner can go straight to the bottom side, reset his bottom camps, and get the bottom side scuttle crab, as well as play on his strong side after he has wards. However, they do not see Sejuani, so they may assume that Sejuani is on her golems, which could be a mistake for them.
Llegando ahí. ¿Le puedo dar al hacha? Ay, nos doble bombió.
There shouldn't really be a lot happening in early in this game, but it's possible Skarner can do something. Skarner should know that Sejuani's right here. They ping it. Sejuani. So this is interesting. This is interesting mix up by Sejuani. What Sejuani has decided to do is that we have seen Skarner on the top side. He just did his full clear. He's gonna back. Okay, I'm gonna back at the same time. I already got this scuttle crab. I'm gonna back and I'm gonna go get the first scuttle crab before I get my first golem camp. Which means I'm gonna be slightly behind in experience, but I'm gonna be ahead in gold because I got both scuttle crabs. So this is actually really good pathing by Umti. And now that he's ahead of the Skarner, he should be level 6 before the Skarner. He can be level 6 before the Skarner if he just passed for his camps. But he may or may not be. He's definitely ahead on gold, which is beneficial, and he's ahead on map pressure, because having both scuttle crabs makes it really hard for Skarner to have access to any of these lanes, which is what he wants. Skarner spotted again, and what was interesting here is that Umti decided to let Skarner know that he was right there. I think he did this because Galio's low on mana, which means that they don't want to opt into any 2v2 if they get the jump on someone. Because if, for say, Skarner goes here and Galio converges after Sejuani stuns him, they can actually kill Skarner before Azir arrives, because Azir was clearing up the wave in his tower, which means that if Skarner actually entered this side of the jungle, they would have been at an advantage. But because Grace does not have any mana, it becomes a risky situation, and I can't exactly read how much mana he has, but I would assume that it's less than 100, and I believe that the Galio combo at this point is about a 180 mana. Maybe it could be less than that. Don't quote me, but it's more than he has, I believe. Sejuani's going to finish her golems. He's going to go straight to her wraiths. After having wasted a little bit of Skarner's time and gotten both scuttle crabs, if she continues on this path of clearing her camps as fast as possible, she will hit 6 slightly before Skarner because she has both scuttle crabs. And what's interesting here is that this scuttle crab is despawned. She's going to go wraith. She's going to go to her wolves, and then she's going to go get the scuttle crab before she comes back to her gromp, and then she's going to be 3 scuttle crabs for 0, and then she can actually recall and go straight back bottom side, in which she started bottom side, which means her red buff's going to be up, her scuttle crab's going to be up on the bottom side, and she's going to be ready to gank 2 lanes because she's going to be level 6. So Sejuani takes a short break in her pathing to go contest Vision before she goes onto her top side and contests her wolves. Skarner's already at sight for Scuttle Crab, which is going to give him priority on this Scuttle Crab. However, Scion's backing, which means he's gonna have to teleport if Skarner wants to contest the Scuttle Crab, which I believe spawns very, very shortly from now. Like as soon as Skarner finishes the race. Anyway, Scion teleported back to lane. I'm not sure if it was mandatory for Gnar to teleport back to lane. I think he could have walked. Since Sejuani's already topside, she's gonna test. She wants to contest the Scuttle Crab anyway. She has two options. She goes topside, clears the 2 or 3 minions that Gnar would have missed, or she goes to this Scuttle Crab, which I may be wrong on my Scuttle Crab timer, or maybe I just started it wrong. Because I thought that it would have spawned slightly before now, but I believe it just spawned now. And that's what Sejuani's doing. Yeah, okay. So she did her full clear. She has Scuttle Crab. She's level 5. She's going to go straight to red buff. She's going to be a level 6 after red buff. The bottom lane Scuttle Crab's going to be up. She's going to grab that Scuttle Crab. She'll have ultimate, and she'll be ready to gank either lane. Rakan let Kalista push so that they'll be in a situation where they may be gankable. Azir actually moves into the enemy jungle to help Skarner try and invade this red buff to deny Sejuani level 6. This is a smart idea, but they need to perform it very carefully, as the Galio ult is on the table, which could prove to be really bad for them. Skarner goes ahead and he flashes in, grabs Sejuani. Sejuani's going to move out. Sejuani goes ahead and she smites the red buff, and it looks like it was a mistake. So let's look at that in more detail, because that definitely could have been performed better by ROX. What ROX wants right now is to not be in a choke point. ROX are not thinking about this Galio ult. And why I know they're not thinking about this Galio ult is that they don't split up. Skarner goes ahead and he pulls Sejuani into the team. So Galio ult hits 3 people. It's it would have been a little different. Oops, I did not mean to turn that on. It would have been a little different if per se oh my god. I keep hitting spacebar and it turns on captions, but that's not really what I want. This should be at 7 minutes. Just second buff spawn. Okay. Okay, let's say for a minute, Skarner goes ahead, and he pulls Sejuani into the pit. So Skarner pulls Sejuani into the pit. Sejuani cannot really Q through Skarner over this wall. And then Azir has access to Skarner from over the wall, or not to Skarner, to Sejuani from over the wall. They get Sejuani really low, and then Skarner still has flash. He actually didn't need to really flash in here. He could have just forced onto Sejuani, because I think she would have taken the fight. So Skarner pulls Sejuani into the pit. Kalista's here, possibly going to get jumped on by Rakan here, but she has the Tahm Kench to help her. And then Azir's all the way over here, ready to aim onto the Sejuani. Because the primary goal of this invade is 2 things. 1, they get the Galio ult off the table. 2, they get this red buff and they deny Sejuani level 6. Denying Sejuani level 6 will deny Sejuani the lane pressure that she needs to pressure in the bot lane and the mid lane, or possibly swing the top lane into Gnar's favor faster than it normally would happen. Instead, just a mechanical error, slip of the mind, Galio ult comes in, lots of flashes are burned, and Jane Eyre comes on top and Sejuani gets level 6. So ROX are in a really bad position for this game. They have to fight an accelerated Chaya against with their Callista, who now has no sums. And Skarner also has no flash for the next 5 minutes, so he is not going to be able to make a play with that until the next buff spawn, until the next rotation of buff spawns. So his blue and Sejuani's red. And it's also possible that Skarner could lose his blue here if Sejuani decides to call for their team to push in on the blue, which is a good call as they have priority. And that's what they decide to do. Chaya also pushes the bottom lane in, and they leave mid lane at a neutral. So with mid lane in neutral, Galio returns to mid, and I don't think they'll take this Wind Dragon. I don't think that's necessary for them to do that right now. They can just reset their lanes and get levels. The only thing that they would want to do of taking this Wind Dragon is if they take this Wind Dragon, that means that they're going to have faster rotations, and because they're already ahead, rather than in an even game state, they want to keep that tempo and hold on to that tempo that they'll have until the next dragon. So it's a bet saying, okay, we'll take this dragon now in hopes for a better dragon. Just because we know we have tempo now and we can hold on to it until later. They opt to not take the dragon. Galio returns mid and remove the neutral, and he backs. And bot lane has just backed, and Sejuani has yet to back, but she's going to her blue buff. I think that Sejuani, after giving this blue buff to Galio, is going to go ahead and back, unless she needs Gromp for an extra pink ward or an extra item. And then Sejuani is going to return into the bottom side, as she does have her Glacial Prison, and it may be slightly too late for her to go top side. As well as it's not really incentivized for her to go top side right now because the top side is really pushed in, and it would be expected. It would be expected that Gnar is in the top side jungle, which if Sejuani wants to go dive that Scion, then she would assume that Skarner is in the top side because they went ahead and they took Skarner's blue, which means Skarner is probably going to take one of his camps and then head top side. And that is what he does. But that isn't necessarily what he had to do, but it's very likely. And because it's very likely, it makes this dive in the top risky. So Sejuani should be handing this blue to Galio and then backing. Or she already handed it. Wait, did I miss something? This is odd. So, oh, they gave the enemy blue to Galio. So Sejuani takes this blue. So instead of giving Galio an extended blue, a blue that would be 1.5 times longer than normal, they go ahead and they opt to give Sejuani the blue to make her clear time faster. So Sejuani might back and be headed to bot, take her golems, and try and reach that level 9 mark where she will be quite strong as well. Before ganking a lane. That seems more clear. I was wondering why I didn't see Galio move towards their friendly blue buff. Seems like Cyan could not contest this lane long enough for his next teleport, but he does have ultimate, so he should be able to return back to lane. I don't know if that's a cannon wave. If it's a cannon wave, then Cyan's perfectly fine. He'll only miss one minion. If it's not a cannon wave, he might miss 2 or 3. I guess we'll see him crash. I believe it is a cannon wave, so good for him. Jin Air take the push in the bottom lane. They take the fact that Cyan used ult top lane, and this should be expected. It should be expected. Okay, we push Cyan out of lane. Cyan doesn't have teleport yet. Cyan either wants to teleport top or go back top so that he doesn't miss CS. He wants to be able to contest this Gnar, stop the split push. So okay, they don't have Cyan ult, which means they don't want to fight, which means we'll take this Wind Dragon for free. We'll keep pressure in the bot side, and then we'll converge onto this bottom lane tower, set up for a dive because we have Galio ult and Galio push in the mid lane because Galio's after level 9. Okay. The only thing missing from this is that Galio does not have his item yet. Chaya does not have her first item yet. But they go ahead, they converge onto the bottom lane anyway. Galio takes the roam first. Galio reaches the roam first. Cyan tries to teleport, but it's pretty useless for him to waste that teleport anyway since he didn't have ultimate. And Jynneir's going to get this bottom lane tower. This is going to be especially good for Jynneir. Or no. Okay, this is actually really interesting. Jynneir are deciding to not take this bottom lane tower because they feel like they can abuse Kalista Tahm-Kench much more than they already have. They want to put Kalista so far behind that they win the game immediately. So instead of taking the immediate gold, giving Chaya an extra 600 gold just by giving her First Blood Tower solo gold, they decide that they want Sejuani to return bot, they want to put more pressure in bot, and they want to put Kalista as far behind as possible and make her completely useless in this game. Okay, so ROX is in a shitty position. What do? ROX wants to swing this top lane into Sion's favor so that they don't have to worry about the split push threat, as at the same time, bot lane needs to play extremely safe. If they can stop this split push threat for several levels, or at least for the next 2 items, then they can stay in this game long enough for Azir to be able to scale. Because it's honestly with this Kalista at this point, it's almost as if they're playing with one less player. It's like they only have 4 people, because she doesn't do any damage. She's really easy to kill. There's really no reason to have her on a team, at least not in this situation. Not in a situation where she can't abuse the one window she has, which is a little bit of early game damage that can snowball quite quickly. That was not good. That was good, but also not good. Okay, so ROX say, okay, we could swing top lane, or we could try and accelerate Azir. Swinging top lane, despite being easier than accelerating the Azir, as it's quite difficult to kill a Galio, they decide that they'll burn Cleanse and Skarner Flash on trying to get the Azir ahead. The problem was that this kill was not donated to the Azir, it was donated to the Sion. Whereas Skarner can affect the split push threat at any time because there's really no incentive for him to go bot lane anyway. Bot lane can, the Jynneir bot lane can get that tower at any point. Skarner wants to accelerate his Azir and just help out Sion when he can. He doesn't want to prioritize Sion. There's no incentive in prioritizing Sion, but there's a lot of incentive in prioritizing this Azir and giving this Azir gold.
Me está peleando, ¿ves? Si lo sonea, si tengo flash. No, se pesa. No, si lo matas. No, si lo mato. Que corre el señor. Lo puedes soñar. No tiene flash.
Okay. Gnar got some damage on that top lane tower while Sion went mid. However, Sion is going to have a little bit of a level advantage because he got an extra kill, and Gnar is going to be slightly behind. But that doesn't matter because Gnar wins the matchup usually. Blue buff goes ahead and gets donated to Azir. Azir jumps out of the way, and Skarner tanks the Sejuani ult. So an unsuccessful invade for the Sejuani, and she loses her ultimate. Just a side note. In this case, after you see Azir has blue buff here, I don't think if Azir has flash, I don't think it's necessary for you to ult here. I think what is better is for you to hold on to this ult. Azir is going to be pushed off to the side. He's going to have to take the long way to mid. Galio's going to push mid, and Sejuani can come mid, and we get damage on this mid tower. Because ROX knows that they cannot contest this. They just wanted to get that blue buff as fast as possible while they had it, because the Jhin Air bottom lane is ready to rotate at any given point. It's actually possible that Jhin Air can take the bottom lane. They can go mid lane right now as Azir just got zoned off from mid lane, and they prioritize this mid lane tower for First Blood Tower, as it'll open up the map much more than it would normally. And Kallista's not going to get a lot of damage on the bottom lane tower. So actually, I think that's the optimal play. But remember, I think Jhin Air knows that they're in a better spot right now, and they want to abuse as much as possible, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think they can just force towers when they want to. I guess now is when they want to. They just want to get this bottom lane tower, but they definitely could have gotten mid lane tower there. They call off their play because they see Skarner, or they see Azir. They may not have seen Skarner. Again, Jhin Air, from last game, this shows that they're playing very safe. And that's something that both of these teams have been doing this series. But it's also something that they have conditional plays to be made. Like, they have the conditions met. They have Fed Chaya, they have Galio ult. Like, they can... they had Azir out of mid lane, they could have forced mid lane turret, but they just choose not to because they believe that it can be contested due to very specific conditions. But like, they could, if they go to this mid tower, like Skarner has no flash. It's there's a Kalista. If Sion TP's mid lane, Gnar gets top lane tower for free. Like like this is not exactly good aggressive gameplay from Jhin Air. This could be improved so much more. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that what they are not doing is in a degree of safety. And I guess when you're unsure about something, they're making the safe play is the better play. At least that's what I generally preach, but it's still odd that Jhin Air is not going to take advantage of these windows harder. Like, look at this bot lane. Chaya almost has 2 items. Kalista has yet to complete an item. Galio has Rod of Ages 4 stacks. Azir is yet to complete an item. Like, it just shocks me that they do not want to give something up. Because, like, they go mid, they don't lose bottom tower. Like, they go mid, Sion comes mid, they don't get mid tower, they rotate bot, Gnar gets top tower. They force bottom tower while Skarner's in topside jungle. They don't get top tower because they can't kill Gnar, or Galio can rotate on a Gnar. And if Galio rotates on a Gnar, then they can rotate mid. So they can get any of these outer towers without losing any of their towers. So it's very odd to me. Okay, trying to pull a mid lane play again. Was not able to get the scoop onto Galio. But they did 4-man mid. So let's talk about that play for a second. If they kill Galio here, they'll trade their bottom lane tower for mid tower, which is probably the best case scenario for ROX. The best case scenario. They kill Galio, they get mid tower, they leave bottom tower, and they trade towers 1 for 1, and they open up the map a little bit for themselves. Okay, and they go and get Rift Herald. Okay, instead they don't kill Galio, and they're gonna go for Rift Herald, which may or may not be useful for them. The thing is, if they go for Rift Herald, they have to go to a lane where Jhin Air is not. They have to go to a lane where Jhin Air cannot contest because they're just not there. Which is really difficult for them because they don't have priority in any lane. Anyway, Jin Air's gonna go ahead and they're gonna donate this bottom lane tower solo gold to Chaya. ROX is going ahead and start up the Rift Herald. Jin Air's probably just gonna give up the Rift Herald. They don't need it to win, and they know if ROX has it, they're not gonna be able to use it effectively. I don't even think they can get a tower off of it. Just because they can't contest the tower. They'll be lucky if the Rift Herald hits a tower in the first place. Anyway, second Cloud Drake is spawning. Now that the Rift Herald's off the table, and the bottom lane tower is off the table, Chaya Rakan go ahead and they go mid. Kalista goes bottom lane to pick up the CS wave. And they need to be in one of these two sectors so that they can try and contest this dragon, which is almost impossible. The entire river's pinked by Jin Air. And Galio's ult is up, as well as both teleports in the top lane. They go ahead and they use the fact that they have full control of vision on the bottom side, make a flash play onto Azir. Just a note: the WR combo by Rakan is uncleansable. Lava used cleanse here in a reaction, but what's particularly interesting about the WR combo by Rakan is that you can cleanse the R, which is the charm, but you can't cleanse knockups, and you can't cleanse both of them. You have to cleanse one, and because you can't cleanse the knockup and the knockup comes second, it's an uncleansable combo. The only counter to that is Tahm Kench, which they do have, but it wasn't able to be used in this situation. Anyway, Jin Air goes ahead and they take this free Wind Dragon for themselves. They're probably going to converge onto mid lane. They still have a second before Azir's up. Azir's going to take 18 seconds to get to lane so they can siege mid while Azir's not there. They could even really dive mid if they wanted to. I don't think Tahm Kench is tanky enough for them to do a whole lot. And even if he is tanky enough, he's going to have to burn flash and exhaust. Or at least one. At least flash. I find it a little odd that Jin Air goes for this 1-3-1 here. Again, this is extremely safe. Instead of having Galio push the bottom lane, or have Chaya push the bottom lane much quicker than Galio can, and then having Galio in mid, and then having Chaya Rakan rotate onto Galio instead of the other way around. Because they just need to slow push in this bottom lane and then take this tower. They don't need to do anything else. And even if they don't want to do this because they think it's risky, because they're risking a 4v4 under a tower, or just a 4v4 in general, they can go into the top lane and abuse this Scion, because Gnar has Black Cleaver, and with the mix damage from Sejuani, they can do a lot to him if they know Skarner's going to be in the mid lane. So they can 3-man top with Sejuani, Gnar, and Galio. So if Chaya Rakan were rotating into mid lane and Galio was rotating into top with Sejuani and they dive Scion because Skarner's mid, then it's just so much more beneficial for Jin Air. And then they get top tower, or if they rotate top, then they get mid tower. But they'll probably just give up top tower since mid tower is generally more important.
Eso es como el sitio duró media hora sacando el carajo. No, lo segundo. Pero no. ¿Qué casi sacando? Por si se carga.
Galio's gonna go contest the enemy blue buff. I don't know if he'll get that. I think Azir can just take it from him. Azir decides not to risk it, which is weird because Galio can't jump over a wall. But I think what Azir was thinking here is like, okay, I can try and steal this, and if I do, I'm probably gonna get flash W'd by Galio, and in that case I have to burn my flash. Because Sejuani disappeared from mid 5 seconds before, which means if he flash W's me, Sejuani's gonna reach me before I get away. So it's either I get the blue buff and I flash away, or I get the blue buff and I die, or I don't get the blue buff and one of those same options. ROX go ahead and they spawn the Rift Herald that they've been holding on to for the entire duration. So this gives a small window to ROX. Azir can rotate into a different lane. They can try and force a tower because they know that someone's going to be in the bottom lane to defend for this Rift Herald. Azir's going to sit around here though. He's going to make sure that this Rift Herald hits the tower rather than ignoring. So, best case scenario for them, the Rift Herald actually did tower damage, whereas I did not even expect that to happen. Skarner constantly looking for an opening. He is level 2 ult, he's got Predator, he just wants to do something. If he isn't able to do something in the next 5 minutes, he's gonna lose the game. Like at some point here, Jannera is just going to win naturally. Like they have better team fight, and they're ahead. The only thing that ROX can rely on, as I noted before, is the late game Azir with the front line that he has. He has 3 tanks and an Azir, which is really nice for him. And Azir's generally pretty good into multiple tanks, since he does DPS. But it's just like, can they make it that far? Probably not. He just got one shot by Galio. Like I really doubt that. They're 4,000 gold behind, they're 2 Wind Dragons behind, so they can't even rotate as fast. And the Wind Dragons provide in-combat movement speed this patch. And there's an Infernal Dragon spawning in 2 minutes, and Baron's up. They go ahead and make that dive mid lane, where Tahm Kench is forced to lose flash. They take the team fight to try and get the kill, but it doesn't end up happening. They end up using 2 flashes for both of Tahm Kench's summoners and Skarner's flash. So they actually end up in the positive. They got mid tower and top tower, lost a wave. ROX is just losing everything here. Like instead of ROX trying to respond to this, ROX wants to push another lane. ROX wants to get a tower. ROX wants to do something that is not contest. They just want to be in a different part of the map and force down towers. They want to accelerate the game for the Azir. And they want to get any pick they can and donate it to Azir. Because donating it to Callista is just not going to do anything.
¿Tú quieres hacerme? Le pegué. Dale, son hit. ¿Me están haciendo pick? Puedes soñarlo si lo soñas.
So Sion's a little bit ahead, and his items are slightly cheaper, so he does get his 2-item spike before Gnar, so he's still holding this split against Gnar. Like, but what's actually nice here is that, or well, nice for Jin Air. Jin Air decided to push, not to let Gnar go bot, but to let Galio go bot so that Gnar can stay in top and put pressure on this outer tower, and Galio doesn't give a fuck about Sion. He doesn't need to worry about him. Whereas Sion can actually kind of poke the Gnar, bully the Gnar, and with this build, possibly duel the Gnar over the course of several duels. But the Galio can just ignore him and push the lane faster than he can. I find it odd that Jin Air aren't trying to play this game faster. Like, there's something really weird about LCK, or at least maybe it's just these games. Sometimes I'll watch a game and I'll be like, why is this played so slow? Like, look, you have Galio 2-item spike, you're already on Chaya like almost 3-item spike. Look at Kalista, Azir doesn't have 2 items yet. You have Sejuani with Warmogs, you can fight all day. Now you have 2 items on Gnar. Like, you slow push this bot, you push mid, you rotate on top, you get top tower for free. You take control of their jungle, you take all their jungle camps. As soon as someone missteps, you get a pick, you get a tier 2 tower for free. You get this next fire dragon for free, but you don't need to worry about that. But like, just getting these towers faster, like accelerating the gold lead faster, it can be done so much faster. Anyway, if ROX wants to have a chance at winning this game, they want this fire dragon. Galio goes ahead and he pushes top side. He says, okay, I'm going to push this top tower while, you know, we contest dragon anyway, and I'm going to push all those minions in, and then I'm going to teleport, because I'm the one on the team who has teleport right now. ROX wants this fire dragon, but they know they can't get it. They're going to try and fight, but really they can't. Sion got bursted really quickly. Gnar threw his 1Q with his W passive, and Scar loses 25% of his HP. Like, it's over. It's pretty much over at this point. 5,000 gold lead, which is about to be a little bit larger. Make that 6,000. The fire dragon's probably providing about 1,500 golden stats. Remember that I just pulled that number because it's pretty standard at this point in the game. Well, it could be 2,000 to 2,500 now. But remember that this is a Galio Sejuani Gnar, whereas like if they had a different team comp, the fire dragon would provide more stats. Like if they had Azir instead, like or Orianna, like someone with a bunch of AP, then it provides more gold because it's a scaling stat. But they don't have that here. Anyway, top tower is on 1 hit. ROX decide to go top lane because they know someone's gonna come top. Looks like they're gonna chase Galio into the tower here. That's a you know a team's desperate when they're making a play like this. Like, it's a play that isn't guaranteed to succeed, but there's nothing else they can find. And if they don't do something, they're gonna lose. This at least shows me that ROX knows that they're in a shitty situation, rather than last game when Jin Air actually did nothing and they just let themselves lose without doing anything. Jin Air gets pick in the jungle onto Tomcatch. They're gonna force this top tower. They're probably gonna take control of Baron. Possibly force Baron. Jin Air, while ahead, might be more apt to force Baron than ROX was last game, which I would hope. However, this isn't the best situation to force Baron. You do have Sejuani 1 level ahead. It's just that you don't have a lot of zoning tools. You want to make sure that Skarner stays out of the pit so that he isn't able to contest the dragon. But Callista could put him in the pit. Tom Kench could put him in the pit. And he almost has flash. But Jinner say, okay, Skarner doesn't have flash yet. We're going to force it now. They don't have any vision. We're going to do it right now. Very well done. Took the vision, had the window, say fuck bottom tower. Just a note, this tower with local gold is worth 900. This Baron is worth 1500, and that's just the gold that it gives you. It gives every person on your team 300. As for right now, we're at 26 minutes, which means that the Baron is going to give... I think it's 20 AD and AP. Or it might be like 30 to 40 AP. Because remember, at 40 minutes, it goes to 48 AD and 80 AP. So this might be 25 AD and like 35 AP. So that's actually a good amount of stats as well. That's more than 400 for each person who can use it effectively. So pretty much everybody but Rakan. Anyway, they have triple teleport with Galio, except they don't have teleport on Galio, but that doesn't matter. So they can go ahead and they run 1-3-1, and they just force down the lanes. That's their easiest win condition right now. If they jump on the 3, Galio ults. If Gnar gets jumped on, he can either get away safely because he's Gnar, or if they jump on the 3, they can 5-man collapse. This is one of my favorite team comps. Because with Galio or Talia or something like that, if you put Galio in the side lane and you put someone with teleport in the top lane, Galio can ult and they can teleport, and you 5-man collapse mid. So it's a faux 1-3-1, which is actually a 5-0. Which is really key. But it can also function as a 4-1. You can leave Gnar in the side lane. So like it's actually one of your best team comps for tempo. And remember, anytime you draft a Galio comp, it's a tempo comp because you want to run until Galio falls off. Although now with Galio these days being built full AP, doesn't exactly fall off until really late. Anyway, once Gnar has reached center of bot lane, Galio decides to go top lane. He has a big wave in top, so it's possible that instead of contesting this Azir tower or pushing mid just as 3, they're gonna rotate top onto their Galio, which is one of your standards. Rotate onto your tank with this big wave, and then force down top tower. And because they have complete control of the enemy red side jungle, they're very safe in doing this, whereas it's more dangerous for them to go bottom side with this Gnar since it's all black for them. But Azir goes ahead and he goes top, so this benefits Jin Air. They can just keep pushing mid. Looks like they're going to try and kill the split pusher. General tactic. Although they weren't able to reach him, Galio ult reaches him, and Jin Air continue to dominate. They're going to rotate straight onto mid, they're going to get mid inhibitor, and then they're just going to 4-1 top and bot. Or they may just go straight bot, because Azir staying top, which denies them the ability to go top, because it takes too long for the wave to reach, and they want to use their Baron buff as effectively as possible. So they're probably just going to rotate straight into the bottom lane, and that looks like what they're doing. Tom Kench is almost up, but Sion's still dead, and Azir is still recalling. Azir to get 1 turret, if there's any hope for ROX at all at this point. I don't really believe it, but they should be able to force that inhibitor too. This is one of those examples of they're playing really safe. Really safe. Callista, no flash. Tom Kench, no sums. Skarner, no flash. Sion still dead for a few seconds. That's their inhibitor. They can get it. They have 5 people. The only thing they don't have is Galio ult, and and Sejuani ult. Like our Rakan ult is up in like 5 to 10 seconds. So they have that. But they have Gnar ult too, like, and they have Chai ult. Like, those are more important. Those, like, this is primary engage tool, and this is primary defense tool. But like, this is self peel. This is a primary engage tool, and this is a secondary engage tool. That they have everything they need in order to win a fight. So they can definitely take that second inhibitor. But they go ahead and they say, okay, we're not sure. We're gonna take it safe. Go ahead and steal the blue buff. They're probably just gonna leave Gnar in the bottom lane and then go for top. Looks like they want to prioritize this third Cloud Drake. I think their Baron buff is already gone, so that's fine. Don't really want to waste your time on neutral objectives while you have Baron. Unless it's, of course, Elder Drake. Looks like they get to jump straight onto Skarner here. Skarner stepping a little too outside. So note, Skarner does not have any towers on this side. He doesn't have any team on this side. He can't kill this Gromp. He's lucky if he gets to kill his wolves. He has complete vision control in his wraiths, his red buff, and he has the tower in topside tier 2, which means he can pretty safely take his golems. But he has zero safety in this bottom side jungle, so there's no reason for him to be there. Anyway, he gets taken out for free. Galio ult is up. They just force bottom lane. This could be the end of the game. Anyway, now that they have 2 inhibitors, they're just going to go the safe play and go top lane. They have a big wave in top lane that they set up earlier for a slow push. Or, well, I don't even think they set it up. I think it just... Azir bounced it when he pushed the tower. And by bounce, I mean it went here, but it killed their melee minions and left a whole wave here. So this wave just decided to grow and grow and grow. And now it's like 4 waves. Or, well, it's 3. Anyway, that outer tower is free. If ROX wants to play this game, they have to fight over this tower. They can't let them get 3 inhibs or else the game's over. Because they need as much time as they can for Azir to reach a point where he can do anything useful. Because he's almost there, but not quite. Very difficult for them to manage these minion waves. They don't exactly have a team comp for it. Kallista's not very good at it. And no one else is. It's pretty much Azir. Azir's like the only one who can clear these super minions. Because Kallista's just really bad at it. Okay, so they decide to do the all-in. This is their Hail Mary fight. Could be going a lot worse, to be honest. Alright. That's what I expected, but it was a really good try by ROX. Because, I mean, it's either they go in and they lose, or they go in and they don't lose for another 3 minutes. And they decided to go in, and while they still lost anyway, there was the chance of not losing for a while, which could have helped them win. As you saw, Azir was starting to pump out some great DPS that fight. Honestly, this game would have gone much differently if they didn't pick Kalista. They Callista just doesn't work in that matchup. Unless, like, at least not anymore. She used to work in that matchup, but after the changes to Callista, it's just not going to happen that way. All right. Thank you. That's it for this game.